Okay, let's try something very, very different, shall we? So I found a song on the internet, on YouTube, called Just Like James Bond. I think it was by Punk Uke. I shall put the link below if I remember. Very good site, some old stuff and some good covers and originals on there. So I took one of the originals and I made it worse, probably. But there was only 2 verses on there and I've created quite a lot more. I had to make up the chords as well, so bear with on this. We'll see how it goes. See what I can do with this. I'm gonna make love to beautiful women all morning. I'm gonna save the world this afternoon. And if I see any villains, I'm gonna kick their heads in. I'm gonna swing martini by the light of the moon. I'm gonna race around the streets in my Aston Martin DB6. Always sleep naked apart from my Seamaster watch. I'll travel to exotic locations and always ride safely back for a cup of tea with Moneypenny. James Bond, wanna be James Bond, just like James Bond, just like James Bond. James Bond, wanna be James Bond, just like James Bond, just like James Bond. I'll slip into a tux, shake up a dirty martini, a dirty bitty meanie. I'll slip into a tux, shake up a dirty martini, with a smirk and a wink. No one sees through me. I'm taking down the bad guys one by one, living life on the edge. I'm never outdone. I'll charm every room, leave them speechless in awe. Outsmart the villain, for Bond is the law. I'll parachute from planes right through fire and ice, yet I'll never have a wrinkle or a hair out of place. James Bond, wanna be James Bond, just like James Bond, just like James Bond. James Bond, wanna be James Bond, just like James Bond, just like James Bond. I'll face the evil masterminds with their twisted schemes. Goldfinger, Blofeld, well, they haunt my dreams. I'll outwit them all with gadgets and style. Their plans fall apart while I laugh and smile. There's Oddjob with his hat, sharp as a knife, but I'll dodge his tricks and end his life. And Jaws with his teeth, steel and strong, he won't last long. Whoa, when Bond comes along. James Bond, wanna be James Bond, just like James Bond, just like James Bond. James Bond, wanna be James Bond, just like James Bond, just like James Bond. With gadgets from Q, I'm ready for the fight. A watch with a laser and a pen that ignites. From an Aston with missiles to a phone that shocks. Invisible cars and briefcase locks. Jetpacks and grappling hooks, nothing's too small. X-ray shades and cufflinks, well, I've got 'em all. No villain safe when my gadgets are near. I'm always equipped with the best spy gear. I'm James Bond, I wanna be James Bond, just like James Bond, just like James Bond. James Bond, ooh, James Bond, just like James Bond, just like James Bond. I'll meet the Bond girls with beauty and grace. They steal your heart, then vanish without trace. From Vesper to Tracy, they leave their mark. But none can dim the fire when they ignite a spark. There's Pussy galore and Solitaire, Domino and Natalia, well, they're beyond compare. But just like the missions, they come and they go, leaving Bond alone in his tux and afterglow. Connery, Niven, Lazenby, Moore, Dalton, Brosnan, Craig. Connery, Niven, Lazenby, Moore, Dalton, Brosnan, Craig, Connery, Niven, Lazenby, Moore, Dalton, Brosnan, Craig. And who the fuck is Barry Nelson? Ha! Check it out! James Bond, wanna be James Bond, just like James Bond, just like James Bond. James Bond, wanna be James Bond, just like James Bond, just like James Bond. That was a bit of fun. Hopefully it sounded okay. Maybe I'll try it again one day. That was hard work. All soon.